Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning. It's Monday, so Grumpy is in the house. He's not as grumpy, kind of grumpy, but not fully grumpy. But he has coffee, and Matush has coffee. What's going on? Or do you?
Of course, there it
Show
is,
yourself.
as black as my soul. And grumpiness is at like a, let's say, 4 out of 10, because it is Monday, so there's a point there. Another
And
point.
points, Monday automatically gets like 4 or 5, doesn't it? Well, not for you because you have Mondays off. For normal
True.
people,
Yes. So Monday's my Sunday, so that's one of those like, oh God, I'm dreading the next day kind of thing. So he gets a point for that. It gets a point for no signings this transfer window, technically. And I think that's it, though. That adds up to 4 points. 1 + 1 = 4.
That's good math. That's good Polish math first thing in the morning over here. Alan, Ryan already in the house. Good morning to everybody. Hit that thumbs up as you join the broadcast. Lot to talk about. Good weekend overall. So there's a lot to talk about that. And honestly, even the transfer thing, I really was interested in signing his old boy from Sunderland if that happened. Out of everything that came out, that was probably the only one I was like excited about when I saw it. It's like, oh, that would be good. A lot of the other stuff is like more in terms of potential young player and all that kind of stuff. So I know everybody just wants fresh faces and fresh names, but if it's just going to be another Ramsey sitting on the bench, I mean, I guess I'll ask you that. Would you rather have them do Ozan Kabak kind of a deal, or just do what they're doing right now? They're like, hey, we got a really good center back and we'll talk about him. But nothing for now because we don't want to do an emergency buy. Don't want to go to Walgreens and get groceries from there.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say if it would be similar to the Kabak situation, because we don't know if Slot, maybe he would play a loanee for the 4 or 5 months more than Klopp did, right? Because Klopp, very notoriously, it took a long time for anyone to bet into the system there, and he didn't give players a chance right off the bat usually. So for someone like Slot, maybe that isn't the case, and it would have been a good idea to have, at least, if anything, just for numbers' sake, for just depth's sake. We're not asking them to start every single game for the rest of the year. We're asking them, hey, we are literally out of defenders. Can we put this one on for 15 minutes, right? So, yeah, it's a little frustrating because you feel like there's enough of a market where if there was a stopgap, it's doable. But then when you think about what the position other clubs are in, they know the desperation.
Yeah.
And they understand that they can make Liverpool pay a heavy fee for whatever they want to do right now because they know they have to do it. And so that's the other part, is you don't want to overpay then. And FSG, notoriously, if the value isn't there, they're not going for it.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Ryan says for depth, but I keep going back to, it's not depth if they're not going to play. Like, if the chance of them getting minutes and playing is not there, it's not depth. It's just an illusion you're creating over here. Pretty much what we did initially with Where Are They Now? We should do like a Where Are They Now show. Like Ben Davies, that dude we signed. Where the hologram that we never even saw. Like,
Big Red.
That's ultimately everybody was like, oh, at least we signed somebody, but it was pointless because we never played them. They were not going to play. So I'm okay with them not doing anything if that's what they're going to do, if that's the alternative kind of a deal. Sadej Scosser says we left it a little late. We knew what we needed. The manager again has been let down. I think, put Slot in a different situation in that sense. But look, at the same time, we were talking about this on that whole I don't even know, is it Gertrude, the dude's name? That's like Crystal. I didn't even work on his pronunciation until he's officially signed. So
I thought it was Gertruda, but
Gertruda, you know what? Let's go with that. That sounds pretty good. Let's go with that. Gertruda, that involves 3 teams. I think we had to pay to cancel the loan and then reach an agreement with Leipzig afterwards and all that kind of stuff because their loan agreement with Crystal Palace was different. So I think it was a bit more complicated than anything else. But
and then Sunderland would have to replace him as well, right? And so that would have been
yes,
another Gahey situation where leaving it way too late for another club to find a replacement for the player that you are taking away from that club. So all in all, I mean, that's something that you would have tried to work on the first week of the transfer window, and maybe they did. We don't know what they worked on the first week, right? If anything, maybe there were many phone calls made, and the answers for some of these phone calls were not answers that they wanted to hear or way too expensive of answers. And they talked to Slot maybe and said, you know what, the market, there isn't value in the market. We have to do with what we have, which means Sobo right back for the rest of the year.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hey, work this weekend. We'll talk about this weekend a little bit over here. Michael says we would have liked to sign a back right back. And I think that's what I like about the Gertruda guy is the fact that he can do both. More than that, his familiarity with Slot. Like it was gonna be very easy to slot him in, if you will. Haven't done it in a while. So I think it would be like in that sense, I kind of like that thought. That's why I was like semi excited about it. It'll be a lot easier to bet him in because he knows Slot. Slot knows him and exactly what he can do and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we just signed a bunch of young ones and hopefully one of them. I mean, okay, another pronunciation is it Jacquet?
Jacquet, yeah, the T is not
Jacquet,
pronounced. Yeah.
Damn, man, my French coming.
Jeremy Jacquet.
We're turning into wants an interview with who? Who do you want an interview with, man? I got you. I got you hooked up. They do seem confident Gomez is coming back. I mean, Gomez and Frimpong. I mean, Frimpong, we don't know yet, right? It could be one of those things that he never properly healed, and until which he has a World Cup in the summer. And it's not like he has a summer off or anything like that. But so we don't know if he's Gomez yet. I don't want to put him in that category yet. It's a little too early. But Gomez, even when Gomez is back, is he really back? And how long is he back for? That's like the main issue there. But having said all that, I think people think, well, why don't they just go loan somebody, thinking there's like another club on the other side loaning their starting right back out, and they will want something, going back to what you're saying, knowing we're in need. So they will want like an option to buy or obligation to buy if he plays this many games and stuff like that, just because. I mean, what is in it for them? We only think of it like on our end. Just give us him. You don't need him. Like, just give him to us. We need the right back kind of a deal. So it is going to be an difficult one to kind of get done, knowing the needs and go. But that goes back to Satéj and Scasser. When you leave it for the last minutes, it only becomes more difficult.
Yeah, I think we really underestimate how much more of the football world there is beyond just this club, right? There are other clubs that need to be involved in making moves as well. Weirdly enough, you guys, I don't know if you know this, but there are hundreds of clubs around the world who are also looking for players around the same time. So yeah, it's a difficult one. You hate to see it because you really feel like, given all of the toxicity, I'll say, around the manager, around the feelings of the club, you would think that there would be some sort of support if they believed in the manager. So I guess my question to you, and I know that we've talked about this a little bit in Discord, I believe, is this a sign a little bit for the summer after slot where there aren't really players coming in this window for him to use because they are thinking about transitioning to a different manager and not knowing if those players would fit in that style? Because I look at signing like Jacquet and I see a center back that will work under most systems, right? I think that's a kind of player that you can buy without having to worry, well, will this manager like him? Will this manager like him? Is like a Van Dijk, right? He's just going to work. And then I should probably take two steps back. He is not like Van Dijk, right? He's many, many, many years away from that. I'm just saying that a player that can bet into a system is simply a lot easier to use for many managers. So I guess the question is it a sign that Slot will not be here after?
I don't think so. I think the Slot's out people are hoping it is or taking the angle it is, but I don't think it is. I think this is They did the same thing to Klopp. They were not going to fire Klopp. That's not why they did it then. This is unfortunately how kind of they do business. They don't do emergency stuff, and they do what's already in the game
But
plan. If
isn't
anything, I think they're building more of the future team. A lot of these younger signings and stuff we are looking at. I mean, this weekend, you know, like you're watching that game. I said a jokingly to Angel, I was like, keep all the new guys, sell all the old guys, kind of a thing. Like you can let performances. I think we're basically transitioning from the last decade, the Klopp team we loved and like won everything. We're going into a different version, and they were not going to do an emergency buy to kind of like get us off the path of that. They will only do buys that make sense.
I agree with that to an extent. I think a little bit of the problem there is, though, that this is more than just an emergency buy. When you're down to just 2 senior center backs and no senior right backs healthy right now.
But it goes back to what you're saying, though. If it's some center back is really, really good. I mean, I've been saying that which manager comes in and says, nah, I'm not feeling good center backs. So they would have done it now, even if they were going to fire Slot. I don't think it means anything to do with Slot. I don't think it means they're going to keep him. I don't think it means they're going to fire him. And you know what I mean? Because exactly what you're saying, nobody is going to be like, good center back, I'll pass. Or like, he doesn't fit my system.
I get that. But then also, when you think about these last 3 months that we're already down to the last 3 months, which is crazy. It feels like just everything flew by. The ramifications of the amount of money you lose by not qualifying for certain tournaments, I think is big enough to justify an emergency buy at this time, right? If you think about potentially not making the Champions League next year, that's a lot of money being lost after a year that you spent the most money you've spent ever, right? So I think that's the only other worry here, is that by not investing a little bit more now, you lose a lot more later, potentially, unless they truly believe that, this team is good enough. There is enough there. And there is enough there to finish top 4, top 5, right? But it's just a matter of, well, the other teams around them also got better. So it's not so much of a 3-team, 4-team race anymore. There's 5, 6 teams there. So I think that's my only worry, is that you do risk a lot of money being lost by not investing a little bit more money now.
But that doesn't like still, if anything, as a devil, I'll play the devil's advocate. That to me says the complete opposite, that they have more faith in Slot, saying he's got this, as opposed to, you know what I mean? If they were worried, then they would do the emergency buy. Because I do agree to that. I mean, yeah, if you're overpaying for somebody, and I'm not talking about like an emergency buy where like there's a dude who's never going to play. I don't want like a Ben Davies or even like an Ozan Kabak thing. Let's say you were going after a guy, but you knew in January they would ask, 20 million more, 30 million more than, it would be in summer. Yes, then it does make sense. I do agree with you. The returns would kind of like pay for that. Not that there's a guarantee that you're going to get a center back in and you're going to make Champions League, but obviously it's like kind of like increases your chances. And that's the thing, like you would need a willing seller, but goes back to what you're saying. I think you would do like the seller will be willing if they're getting a lot more than they normally should. Like sure. If the guy is normally 30 and you would have to maybe give 50 to make them willing, if you will. And I think you're right. The Champions League qualification would pay for that. But like I say, maybe they do have enough faith in what we have right now and what Slot can do with it to get to that level. I don't know if we do, because we're like an injury away at center back into playing Gravenberch in center back now. I mean, Konate, which, we probably will spend some time talking about this morning, coming back early, knowing the situation. And I talked about it, I think, last week, that I hope he comes back when he's ready and stuff. But I think this was, and we talked about, how you handled loss, how I handled loss, and how it was different and stuff like that. I think this was kind of like ideal for him. This was more my end of the spectrum, where he came back and played, and probably his best game this season, and then gets a goal. I mean, that's kind of like a fairy tale, kind of like an ending that you couldn't even write. It's like a Hollywood ending right there, and then he scores at the end and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you don't have any backups. We don't know how bad Gomez is, but even if you said to me right now, Gomez is your third, it's like having 2.5, not really 3.
Yeah, that's so. And when you take into account not having Bradley or Frimpong, we don't know how long Frimpong's going to be out. But I guess if anything, this allows Slot to play all the midfielders he wants to play at once. So that's a win there. Is that if Sabo gets to be at right back, you get to play all the midfielders you want through the center. You don't have to sit anyone.
What did you make of the Jones thing, by the way? We never got a chance to talk on air about that because, like, what did you make of it? And then they were kind of making more of it. Was that just his agent working? Because, like you're saying, if you're playing all the midfielders, that automatically means Jones is going to get more minutes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like to point. There was that clip going around of him and Slot arguing on the touchline. Was a couple weeks ago about not understanding where to go or what they're doing, and I feel like as soon as it's really easy to find clips like that to justify one argument or the other, depending on which argument you want to justify. And then it happened during the Klopp era too, right? Between Sadio Mane and Mo, and then between Mo and Jurgen, and then between anyone else who, between Henderson and Fabinho, like any side that you want to justify, you look at and go, well, look, this is exactly what they were doing. I think there was, I don't think there was much smoke in the rumors. I do believe that there are clubs out there that would want to buy Curtis because I think he's a good midfielder. So I'm not surprised that there would be clubs looking for the opportunity to buy him. I just don't think it was as far advanced or as 100% as some of the rumors made it out to be. I do think a bit of it maybe was some agent thing. So I didn't put too much stock into it. Just never felt like it truly had any wheels.
Yeah, I know they tried to make even more of it during the broadcast this weekend and stuff. I never saw it. It just didn't make sense. Sadej Scasco says it's for the summer. Yeah, I mean, there's no way they were going to let him go. Of course, people lost their minds with one post. It's so easy to like really get people going. Like my brother just posted something on like our like Fenerbahce thing. He's kind of like found how to get people like triggered, and that's all it takes. Like you just get people triggered and then your post goes crazy. So like everybody like doing like shows and stuff like that, it's just like calm the hell down, dude. Like there was nothing going on yet except, I mean, it's like how many people have we been shown interest in just because Inter Milan showed interest? And I don't know if they were at the time, the only way it made sense to me was maybe like a week or so ago, I saw something about us being interested in Dumfries. So I was like, oh, that would kind of like make sense. Maybe we give Jones and they give us Dumfries, or like there's some money exchanged as well. That was the only way it made sense, and doesn't sound like that's happening either. But then you're basically getting a right back, but now you're going to be short on midfield anyway. So I don't see what the point of that would be. But I'm sure we'll talk a lot more. And I know like the deadline is going now. So if something happens, we'll rely on the chat to update us on any news thing that comes across Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But overall, you watch that weekend game. And I love, our Discord channel says it all over by the way. Like if you didn't, usually like you're working and then you find that come afterwards. But if you just kind of like scroll through from like the lowest of the low, where people are giving up on everything and everybody is being sold, to at the end be like, this team is actually pretty good. They can go far. They can win the Champions League kind of a deal. But where are you at with it? I mean, there were I thought it was well played overall. I know in the beginning they had to absorb a lot more pressure than I would like them to. But people are like, oh, like Ekitike bailed slots, like individual efforts and stuff like that. I mean, that's like any goddamn game, isn't it? Like you can look at any game for the most part and be like a moment of brilliance kind of a deal. But what did you make of it overall?
Again, it's one of those justifications for whatever argument you're trying to make. And we see that in any kind of discourse across sports, politics, religion, et cetera, whatever you want to talk about, you are going to find a way to justify it based on whatever evidence you want to use, et cetera, right? I think, like the comment, like South Asian Scotch says, shaky start. What I really liked was that beyond the shaky start, we saw this team respond in a way that we haven't seen them respond going down. Like there have been moments this year where they've clawed back and made a game out of it, but this past weekend felt like more than a clawback. Like when they clawed their way back, they ripped through and went forward still. Like they didn't just feel good enough about getting the equalizer and getting the second. They wanted to keep going. And I think someone said that they looked angry and for the first time in a long time. And I get that. I totally get that. I think Ekitike is a superstar. Absolutely love watching him. We had an interesting conversation, or I mean, not we. I was reading an interesting conversation on Discord about comparisons, and I think someone brought up Thierry Henry, and Kazi was one to say, not lightly as well, that he does remind him a little bit of Henry, the way that he's able to stand up on the ball and kind of his gait and everything. So he's a superstar. I think that Wirtz Ekitike connection is going to be special. I think we got really, really fortunate with those two. And yeah, overall, I think the response was really good, and having that Kanate finish was a good cherry on the top of everything. Obviously, you would have hoped for maybe a little bit more rotation towards the very end of the game, but at that point, where is their rotation? There wasn't anyone else to really bring in. So that's the tough part, is that you maybe would have wanted to see maybe just some guys get an extra 5-10 minutes rest, but I get it. You're down to one game a week right now, right? So you may as well play them the 90, 95, 96, 97, whatever it was, and then have them go into City next week with even more confidence. Or, I mean, have City come to Anfield with even more confidence.
Yeah, I think so. That was probably my only thing during the game, was like one of the subs in earlier. But then you kind of like look at like how many, like who he can come in. The only person I was like, I kind of expected Jones to come in earlier. And I was like, right now, it probably would not hurt to have Chiesa in there, for example, for like Mo or somebody like that, somebody who's gonna like do a bit more work, like defensively, going back and forth and have some like press aggression too. I think more than ever now, though, like he did not trust like bringing. I used to say this about Nunez, and I got a lot of like shit for it, but I feel like sometimes Chiesa is the same way. To like the casual fan, it looks like, look at him run and press, but he makes us lose our shape sometimes because he's over aggressive with whatever the hell he's doing, because he wants to look like, not he wants to look like, he is, but he's over trying, right? And then I think he didn't trust anybody to come in and do something like that and mess up our overall shape. I thought, especially in midfield, like legs were getting tired. You could kind of tell. I think the advantage over there was the fact that these guys were at France earlier in the week playing a tough away game against PSG, while we kind of like more cruised at home. So I think that kind of like balanced the levels in terms of legs in midfield over there. Salah, but I thought he stretched Newcastle defense really well. Let's talk a little bit about this. I think this is a good topic. Wanted to go over it with the boys tonight too, but I will admit, when I was watching that first half, I did feel like, I mean, Santiago and Scott were saying like he stretched Newcastle's defense. I'm telling you, I don't think he is stretching any defense right now, because I don't think he's scaring people with his speed anymore. I did feel as we were watching the game, and he was horrific the first half, like with his passes and stuff like that. I think he put in one good ball into the box. That was it. He kept like losing the ball, trying to give and go and stuff. I did feel like, man, if Frimpong is up there right now, it would be so much more dangerous. And on the flip side of it, but here's the thing. Mo has something that he brings to the table in terms of creativity. I think more than stretching the defense, I think people are afraid when Mo gets the ball, because they feel he's going to get somebody. He's going to find someone with his pass. I think that's the fear when he takes to his left and looks into the box. I think that's where the fear comes from. And I'm kind of like sick of hearing about Gakpo on the other side. I thought he had a pretty darn decent game. He's been the freaking Lauren Gomez of the team now, where whatever he does, people are not happy with. And I'm so freaking sick of, let me get this off my chest. I did it on Discord too, but I'm so fucking sick of people like mocking and joking about him cutting to the right and shooting. Yes, that's his signature move. Yes, he does it probably way too often. I think what I liked is he's kind of gone away from that. I think he did it once this entire game over there where he cut it. Everyone has their goddamn signature move. Most signature move is cutting to the left and curling that thing to the top left, right? He's done it a bunch of times. He did it against Brighton, that famous Chelsea goal. He does it all the time. So every player has that move. And the fact that they're good at that move is one, why they do it. And two, is what scares freaking defenses. Because even though it's their move, they're able to fucking do it. And if you look at Wirtz's goal, the only reason that goal happens is because Mo cuts to his left. Burns is like, oh shit, he's gonna do a Mo. So he takes 2 steps forwards to Mo, and that's why Wirtz is wide open. So can we shut the hell up about Gakpo cutting to the right and criticizing everything this dude does? I'm not his biggest fan, but once again, it has become one of those where protecting from the bullies kind of bullshit. It is very annoying that people not looking for, like Robin. I mean, every player has their signature move, and it freaking works. That's why it's annoying. It freaking works because they're that good at it. Just let him freaking do it.
Not to mention Gakpo defensively has been really solid the last 2 games too, and the defense from him was directly impactful to 2 goals, one against Marseille and one against Newcastle as well, coming from a defensive contribution by Gakpo, right? Something that we won't see from Mo, unfortunately, because it's also understandable because the guy, he's 32, right? I mean, he's getting to that point where a lot of his game was predicated on his pace. And that's not a wrong thing. That's not a bad thing. It happens. Some players, they are on pace, some are on power, some are on touch, some are, whatever it is, your game is going to be built off of something. And once you lose that pace, you have to become a little bit more creative. And unfortunately for Mo, I feel like because he was never the strongest dribbler, that by losing his pace, whenever he tries to dribble out on the wing now, he doesn't get by anyone. And the left backs know that now, right? And they're easily cutting that down. But where he then is able to then shine is through the creativity, through the pass, like you're saying, opening up Wirtz, which also that was a fantastic finish too, right? I mean, one time in the bottom corner, like that's not an easy finish to have. So, but then you see the moments, the 1v1 with Pope, Trippier catching up to him, like on that breakaway for him, pretty much. Those are the moments where you look and you think, man, just 2 years ago, just 3 years ago, that ball's in the back of the net. And he is human at the end of the day. And I think we're starting to see that post-prime athlete and what that looks like, and why some of us, myself, wasn't all that happy with a huge contract last year. I know that a lot of fans wanted to reward him for all the things that he did, and that's understandable. And I agree that to some extent you do reward players for what they contributed. But then as a business, you have to look at what they will continue to contribute. And I know that we didn't expect such a drop off from last year, considering how good of a year it was. But to put that much money into legs that you already started seeing come off a little bit was a bit of a risk. And, maybe the risk will be bailed out by some Saudi money this summer. I just don't think there is a world that beyond this year, Mo is going to have enough of a chance to be on this team week in, week out. Just because he is beyond his prime for Liverpool. Not to say he's beyond his prime for another club, but beyond his prime here, unfortunately.
Yes, I think it's because it would be a big summer of big decisions. I don't even know if that is a decision. I think that's pretty much, that's the main reason it was done. And that's why I think I disagree with what you're saying. I know it's a lot of money, but one, it gives you the summer where you can get something for him now. I mean, bear in mind, we weren't getting anything for him. It was that or nothing. I think that's why. If it was a different, if it was an extension, I think I would agree with you. But I think because of, I guess it was an extension, the chance, but you know what I mean? If it was otherwise, we could have sold him for 20, 30, 40, but we didn't have that opportunity. He was going to walk away. So I think in that sense, it made sense. I mean, I know Wilder Wolf is saying it was bad before Afghan and worse after. I think he's about the same. The thing with Mo is he was able to, when we were talking Mo Mane back in the day, I always said Mo for the long term because of seasons like last year and what he did in terms of how many assists he has and what he can create. And even with the pace leaving, that is still there. The touch is still there. Whereas Sadio's game, I always felt like he was more similar to Diaz. I think as Diaz gets older and slower, he's not gonna be as effective or nearly as effective. It's gonna drop like a rock, because I think a lot of what scares you as a defender is the unpredictability, the pace, the agility of Mane or like Diaz and stuff. Mo used to scare you in that way. Now when he, like I say, when he looks up into the box, I remember like when Kevin De Bruyne was at City, there were times where when Trent was there, even like when Trent looked up into the box and he had time from the right wing, not when he was in freaking midfield, when he was on the right wing as right back, you could be like, oh shit, as an opposing team, because he's gonna pick someone in the box and he's gonna deliver the perfect ball. I think with Mo, you kind of get a little bit of that. Yeah, Michael Owen is another good example, by the way. Like once that agility and like suddenly being able to take off goes, those guys drop. But I felt like Mo has that creativity in him and the passing and stuff to extend the career. The problem now becomes, I mean, even this week I was like, man, you gotta be able to still sub him out though, and he has to kind of like understand that. I'm sure the problem is in the player's mind. I think that's kind of like very difficult to. I mean, shit, it was difficult for a bozo like me. As you get older, you're diminishing skills. So I can't imagine a guy like Mo. First, you're probably not admitting it. Two, he's putting ton and ton of work to be in the shape that he's in to continue. And you've been so high that you can never, even like your little drop should not impact it. But that drop is pretty darn significant. But I don't know. Overall, I really found it, aside from Mo's first half, did you have any other, like, I could not find any criticism. Angie kept saying, because we were watching it together, and that makes a huge difference, that Gravenberg had probably one of his best games, along with Konate. So that totally the case on the right-hand side. So more than even like Szoboszlai being the right back, which I think he did well as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really shored up the defense, Gravenberg being back to Gravenberg of last year.
And I mean, I'm just glad that Newcastle didn't have Joe Linton, because
True.
he alone overruns this midfield, I feel like, every single time we play against them, especially when you think back to the League Cup. He was just the engine that just keeps going for that midfield. So it's a big loss for them. So yeah, I can't think of anything else. I mean, I love all the Kirkez apologists out there, right? The left back of the year last year, who got a lot of stick for being in a brand new system in a really big club, right? Needing more than 2 weeks to adjust, and people calling him an absolute bust and waste of money, et cetera, et cetera. I'm glad to see that that's finally, I mean, to Kirkez's credit too, because he's been playing very well, especially the last 2 months. So that's good to see as well. Yeah, I think overall just good from Arrow. You can see when the ball goes through midfield and it goes quickly through midfield, and when the side is set up, it looks really good. And I think we saw a lot of that this weekend when the ball was actually moving quickly between the midfield. It's only when we stop and slow down the pace where I feel like everything starts to break down a little. So I think if you can keep that midfield going at that kind of rate, it looks good. And maybe looks good enough to win the Champions League, possibly.
Somebody told us already, and that'd be me. His face for the assist to Bears told me all he knows. He knows he's not the same player anymore. Must feel sad not being able to do what he wants to do. Trust me, I've been there, and it is. But especially on Mo's level, I'm sure it's tenfold. This was interesting, though, by the way. I don't know if you've seen this, because that told me a lot about Mo, more than anything else. Because I did think about this when Wirtz first came in, and I know people were like, making stories about it and stuff. But I don't know if you saw the Wirtz interview that he did. I think it's with Sky before the game, and he talked about players calling him over the summer. And I think it's one thing for Van Dijk to call him, and I'm sure that's almost like normal, right? It's probably natural. You expect the captain to be like, yeah, come over here, we'll take you with open arms, you'll fit like a shoe. I think Mo calling him is pretty darn impressive, because I think it shows Mo willing to be the guy to pass the torch, knowing this guy is going to come in at a record fee and he's going to get all the spotlight and stuff like that. I was kind of like impressed to hear that. Maybe I'm making too big of it, or maybe I did not expect a guy like Mo to do that, because we always, look at Mo like, like that interview he did and stuff. A bit more on the selfish side. He would, if he was in the NFL, he'd be a wide receiver. Let's face it, right? He's that kind of a guy. But I think him calling Wirtz shows a lot to me, knowing, like, one, he wanted to play with Wirtz. He probably, he knew it would make the team better. And I think he does care about the club more than just himself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he's also smart enough to recognize that when that kind of money is spent on a player, the club is moving towards a different direction entirely, with the image of the club not being about him anymore. So I think being able to recognize that is a huge step at a personal level. And it's great to see. And it's something that you would see out of a leader, like the leader he is for his country, right? We talk about all the time the amount of leaders that you have on this pitch that represent their international sides. And sadly, for about 2-3 months, it felt like we didn't see a single leader on the pitch at all, even though you had all of these leaders. So it's a nice thing to see. It was great to hear, and I think it's a good character moment for Mo beyond everything else.
Scotty says, that's the first time my name has ever been spelled correctly, by the way. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
C even has the thing there. Yes, that is correct. That's
what is that thing called?
I have no idea. That's a letter.
Monkey tail.
There's a C and there's a C with the thing. A monkey tail? Is that what you fucking said? But no, it basically makes a CH.
Polish also has the same thing under A's and E's. And whenever someone asks, they go, just throw an extra monkey tail under there. I don't know.
Is it called a monkey tail, or you just
No, I don't know. I'm just making it up. But Scotty missed a 0 there. It's definitely 100 times.
No, what?
Yeah. Come on.
How dare you? Oh, by the way, I forgot to bring it. But you guys, if you're not on Discord, you guys are missing a whole lot, by the way, about, highlights from, Mateusz's great basketball career. He did post one this weekend. I was looking on the phone, and with my eyesight and stuff, I really could not tell. So I got to watch it on the monitor later today to maybe appreciate whatever the hell that was. But final seconds, half courts.
In overtime, down by 2 with 4 seconds left, I hit a half court shot to win the game as the buzzer expires. Doesn't get better than that. Does not get better than that.
Does not get better than that, actually. Yes. We should definitely look at that. Humble enough, yes. I mean, 100 is freaking brutal. I mean, as good as he is, 10 times is a lot. You don't think 10 times is a lot? 100 is obnoxious. 100 would be like, I can't even dribble.
No, I think 1,000 is you can't even dribble. I think we underestimate the level
he is.
Or how bad you are.
Or how bad I am. Which one are we? I don't know. Okay, see, now this is a good conversation that came out of nowhere. I mean, good. Oh, Chris is on the. I was like, Chris threw me up when he said afternoon, but yes, good afternoon to you, sir. Yeah, like how many more times are they better than just like a high school player or a college player? A player in the Premier League. Mind you, like Mo, probably you're going to put another 3-4 fold, right? So how many times better? This is like a weird math, but I'm asking the chat to do this math.
And show your work.
Yeah, show your you can tell he's been around school kids. I'll go with the Beckenbauer over the Gattuso. I wasn't an asshole like Gattuso was. Polish Prince hit a Dame Lillard. We get out to yes. I was gonna bring it on air and show it, but maybe I will try to do it as you're doing your next talk over here, because I felt like I think if you posted it, we've shown some of your highlights before.
Yeah.
I saw the celebrations, which did the other team give you shit for? Was there a fight afterwards? Is that why the camera cuts or what?
No, the camera was still going. I just didn't want to make everyone watch another 30 seconds of just people high-fiving each other. I mean, look, this is what happens. If you have the opposing team just bitch and whine the entire game about anything and
Oh,
everything, and then having a finish like that, I couldn't think of anything else to do but to just shush them. That was the only, and their crowd too. The entire crowd, because you can't see it on camera, is right behind that hoop. And so the shushing was for the
wow.
bench and the crowd. Yeah, they had like 20 people show up to watch
What
this
the
thing.
hell?
Yeah.
This is just like a rec league, right?
I mean, yeah, it's a men's league. Yeah. It's
So it's a rec league.
yes.
Ozan does the math. Okay, like, you know what? Let's show it over here. We can't show any trademark highlights or anything, but we can show crap like this.
Crap.
So,
Crap.
I mean, you know, immensely. Here we go.
With our faces too.
He's a good player, but he's just a hot hat. That's how we look at it. We're not gonna have a GF. Oh my God! No! Win.
Couple of things in there. Having seen this now on the big screen. One, who's the guy that goes and one?
Oh,
And more importantly, are these like LeBron or Russell Westbrook rules where you can take as many steps as you want? Or
yes, I did travel. I recognize that I traveled, and I will admit that I traveled. However, in the moment, it wasn't called. Referees are human. There is no VAR. It is what it is, and you take what you can get. And honestly, if you see someone score from half court, you're not going to call a travel. I mean, you give me that shot 10 times, that's the only one I'll make. The other 9, they're coming off the rim easily. But it is what it is. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you know what? You gotta take what you can get. And at that point, they're not gonna be like, they're like, let him have his moments. They'll probably even talk it on the podcast and stuff. So Chris says, and actually I didn't notice this. In the beginning, it wasn't, but it felt like there were a couple of tackles in there. It goes back to what you're saying. It felt like there was a bit more fight to the team. And honestly, Gakpo at one point, he had that run that got the crowd going for a little bit. That was still 0-0, I think, at the time. But there were quite a few moments. And I know it's always the chicken and the egg. And, you know, the fans got to see something, but then the fans got to get going to see something. So it goes back and forth. But you need a couple of like hard tackles or, you know, like a good run, an effort, whatever it is, or a move. I mean, there were a couple of like Mo put that move on the freaking left back at one point, and just like push. I'm like, yeah, that was on purpose. That was sweet as hell. Where he like received the ball and like thank you. You need things like that to get the crowd going, and I felt like there were a bunch of those. I mean, and you know, Chris is right too. You need a common enemy, right? Sometimes it's a player on the other team. Usually, it's the ref. But I think you also need some stuff on the pitch to say, yeah, let's go. And I thought there were like a bunch of those compared to some games where, but wait, here's what I was going to ask you. Is that on us or the more effort or the way that Newcastle plays enables us to do that? Because if somebody was just sitting on a low block, what are you going to do? Like we're passing the ball. We have 80% possession. Who are you going to put the hard tackle into?
It's a little bit of both. You know how it goes on a Monday. A little bit of both, because you have to change. I mean, yeah, because if it is a low block and you're struggling to go through that low block, you're just going to hear the same moans and groans that you've been hearing when you're struggling to go through that. Having the game be more open allows for those moments of bringing the crowd into it. But I think also the crowd can do a better job of getting the team into it as well. Like if there is a stretch of 10, 15 minutes when things aren't going well, then the crowd themselves can get the team back into it. So it's has to play on both sides a little bit, because you have to feed off each other. I understand having a product on the pitch that is cheer worthy, but you also want to then be able to cheer enough to get a product that's cheer worthy as well. So it has to play in on both sides there a little bit.
And yeah, I mean, Chris is right. I mean, Anthony Gordon, who should have been gone.
I don't think so.
Well, here's the thing. If the referees are actually watching the game, I think that move on McAllister is a yellow. If you're watching the game at any other point, I don't care if it's the second minute or if it's the third minute. If, you know, what he did to McAllister, I think could have gotten easily a yellow. I don't think the alley thing is a red, but the alley thing would have been a second yellow.
Got it. Okay, I thought you were saying that the alley tackle was.
No, that would have been pretty harsh. I mean, it could have been, though. We've seen stupider things get like reds, but I felt like it was more like, because he does make contact with the bottom of the cleats, but you know, you can kind of tell the other one is, you know, like the other one is not in all the way. But I felt like it could have been. I'll be on. Let me put it this way: if it's our player and it's going to VAR, I will be very, very worried. Somehow, when it was reversed, I'm like, they're never going to show red for that. Is what I was thinking when into VAR. But if it was, I don't know, like Gakpo doing that on somebody or Ekitike doing that on somebody, I would worry that that might come back a late kind of a deal. So, Isak is due end of March. Yeah, I think he's. Man, that's another thing. As I watch this, and I'm like, man, you could get Ekitike with Isak up top. That's freaking dangerous because they're not your typical number 9s either. They're more like they're dangerous in front of the box. Like they can take that shot from outside the box. They're not your regular number 9 who has to be inside the box and wait for the cross or anything like that. So yeah, that was like, God damn it. I mean, it's so freaking classic of the season that the moment you said, here we go, with Wirtz the Isak assist is when he got injured. That's just like extremely discouraging. Burn should have got second yellow as well. I'm assuming he's talking about the Gakpo one at the end.
Yeah.
That would have been like at those. Is it just me in a selfish kind of way? Like I don't want the guy getting the reds in the 95th minute because it doesn't benefit us at all. And I want him to be sticking around so that he can play against United and Chelsea and stuff like that afterwards.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially unless you happen to be playing against them again the following week, right? If they can take points off of anyone else, then you would want them to have their strongest players, their best players in.
I'm going to just leave that out there because football flashbacks. I'm just going to tangle that out there and see who grabs it. It's kind of like low-bearing fruit over here, but wet dream last night of Hugo and Flo, and I'm a grown man. Honestly, yeah, that's probably, I don't know. What I really like about the sport is probably more like what you see with Konate at the end. I thought that was like awesome. Angie was like mentioning, I missed it because I was passing out snacks when they were showing like the replay and stuff. But the look on McAllister's face as that ball is going in, like the happiness, he's like, and he's like kind of, he's not trying to touch it, nothing. He's just letting it go in, and he's all like happy and stuff. And for them to kind of give that reaction to Konate, you can kind of tell for all the crap that people are trying to make out to be, in terms of, you know, whenever things go bad, all these freaking rumors come in, you can still see a team fighting for themselves and then fighting for each other. And I think that's another reason I'm still slotted in, because I don't see a team that's kind of, you know, turn it in, even when they're down.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and this goes back to what we've echoed throughout the whole year, is that these guys, these players, these basically young adults, right, in their 20s to their early 30s, lost someone very close to them that they saw every single day. And then you also have some of these players dealing with things outside of the pitch as well, with Konate and his dad, for example, where he's been ill. So you have to take a step back and have a perspective of, you know, some of these players are dealing with things that we've never dealt with, that we've never seen before. And they're still just 23, 24, 25, 26 years old. They're not like veteran adults in the sense of like they're in their 60s and they've seen it all and they've gone through loss before. So you have to remember that sometimes they're still just kids in a way, right? And and being there for each other is going to be the biggest thing. And I think, South Asian scouts are talking about Ali running all the way, because he more than anyone,
Yes.
I don't like to use the phrase more than anyone, because everyone grieves differently, but he is someone who could understand what Konate is going through, losing your dad in the middle of the season, having to go through all of that. And so him running all the way over was no surprise. But it was a really beautiful touch at the end.
Yeah, that was like a great way to end that game. I mean, you couldn't have, like I say, asked for like a better like writing. Chris says, yeah, I mean, people like empathy. People are just so, and honestly, this is just, I don't even know, like, are these people louder now? I don't know what it is. I see the same thing on the other side in like Turkey, on the Fenerbahce side and stuff too. Like, people do not, like, say, grow out of the naive phase. I mean, when you were kids, I don't think we ever thought about, the money side of things, the human side of things, when you're 14, 15, 16, and you're like, you're just like, rooting all on emotion and stuff. You don't think of things aside from football, because really you're not exposed to it that much, right? So you don't have to think about it on a daily basis. So you don't think about it when you're watching the sport. It's all like, oh, he's shit, get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. You don't understand the dynamics of stuff. I just find it amazing that there are guys, even on your age, my age, who are still freaking like acting like and talking like they're 14, 15 with the same maturity. It just drives me nuts. It really drives me. You guys should have seen that WhatsApp chat when I would consider that a really, really, I mean, we've won games, but that's probably the most dominant we've been winning a game in the Premier League this year. And people like literally in fetal position in that WhatsApp because they don't want to celebrate it, because they want to slot fire. They're trying to come up with things to, oh, you should have put him in on the 80th minute and stuff. Just trying to pick things. And I can't understand how people live like that. Leave alone watch a sport like that. This is supposed to be an escape. If this is your escape, man, Jesus, you must have it rough in your like regular life over there.
Can you imagine being that miserable all of the time? No chance. Not here.
I just don't understand. I really do not. And that's why, I try to stay as positive as possible, even when sometimes things are, bad and, semi-depressing and stuff, but Jesus Christ, you got to see the bigger picture. And I think it goes back to what you're saying. I mean, these dudes are literally like Jasmine's age, Layla's age and stuff like that. I can't imagine. And I know they're, well above their years, way past their years in terms of what they've been exposed to so far, becoming a professional footballer and stuff. But still, in terms of what they're exposed to as like a human is the same. And ultimately, they are human. This could be the 40-year-old guy at your freaking office. You wouldn't like shit on him because he messed up a report. I just do not understand the ridiculous. I don't know if it's just jealousy because these people are doing something that you wish you could be doing. Playing a sport, making a ton of money while you're slaving away in your like 9 to 5 or whatever. I don't know if that jealousy is becoming, like kind of, that's why as people get older, that's kind of builds like the resentment almost, and they take it out on players. It's mind boggling.
And I think
the only better duo than Ekitike and Wirtz is Timuchin and the Polish Prince.
Thank you. Wow.
I'm assuming I'm Wirtz just by heights.
I will happily take Ekitike, aka
if anybody's taking their shirt off, it should be you. So
Henri Jr. over here. I think, and as you were talking about the jealousy thing, I think a thought sparked in my head, especially nowadays with a thought
February 2nd, 2026.
Everyone calm down. I have a thought in my head.
Oh my God, it's happening. It's happening.
Okay. Insert the Michael Scott gif here. I think to go along with that jealousy thing, with the amount of social media presence that we have nowadays, that the players have, they are also coming across more as human in what they present themselves online. And they're no longer just the superstar athlete that you can't reach the level of. They're also a human being on the side. And seeing them being able to be human beings and having a normal life outside of football probably pisses these people off even more, because they're like, they can go home and do this stuff too. They don't just eat and sleep inside of the stadium all the time. Like they're players too. They're the people too. That's probably making them even angrier, because now these players are doing what they're doing outside of playing, and then they get to also play and make money for playing. And so I think maybe there's a part of that too, where especially like someone like Ekitike, who's just having all the fun online. He's just another person on social media just having fun, and that probably pisses people off even more.
Yeah, probably. Keyboard warriors, people sending hate messages online, all stems from being a bad place in their own lives. I think like I don't know. I take it as an out to do this and laugh and, like hopefully celebrate things. I think people just do it to, whatever you couldn't tell your boss, you go tell Konate or Mo or whoever that week, kind of a thing. While that says you don't live in the UK, dude, in all fairness, we live in the US, so there's a lot of reasons to be. This is another one, by the way, bettors and fantasy. I think in the US, especially like when the NFL and stuff, you see more about the fantasy stuff that people get on people's case for. I think the better. I mean, where's Football Flashback? He can tell us if he's done any hate messaging. I don't know how to take this. In some ways, thinking this is all muscle is a compliment at best by Chris. So I'll take it as a compliment. He means he just thinks this is all muscle and not blubber. Well, I mean, I'll ask you that. I think that's because some fan channels are, one, these people, or two, which one do you think is more? One, they're these people. That's who they are. That's why they did the fan channel. Like, their reason for doing the fan channel was this. I can go online and yell and scream. And two, I think they know that yelling and screaming gets a lot more reaction and feedback and likes and follows than just a sensible conversation. Like me saying, I mean, they're human. They're like, boring, like, so whereas, if I was like, Konate should be gone, Van Dijk should be gone, Slot should be gone, and then everybody was like, yeah, bro, you got it right, and stuff like that. I think, which one do you think it is? Like, are they the people, or are they doing it really for their acting?
Absolutely number two. I don't think they're acting. I think there is a level of genuineness in those people that do that, because there's only so many times you can muster up enough anger on camera before it, what am I trying to say? There's only so much you can do before it starts to feel fake. So there has to be a little bit of it that is genuine, but it is mostly in a way to get other people involved, other people to click on your videos, other people to come watch, because then both sides come, right? When you have such an explosive episode where you are saying XYZ, then you have a lot of people who feel similarly who will flock to your channel, and then those people who want to defend the players or the manager or whatever that also flock to that channel because they want to argue with the people who are on the other side. So all in all, it just allows you to get in more clicks and more views, and that the more clicks and the more views you get, the more money you can potentially earn. So a little bit of it is disingenuous in that sense, and that's why it's something why we pride ourselves in not doing that. Even though we should just stick to baseball anyway. That's all we're gonna ever hear.
That's true.
And neither of us like baseball. We hate it. We hate every bit of it. But we should stick to it.
I'm offended when people say that, because you put me with baseball is more insulting than you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, kind of a deal. But rage bait equals views equals monetization. This is where you guys come in. Everybody in the chat saying that's why they're here. That's why we rely on you guys to spread the word. I know everybody in this chat right now. First of all, there's 21 watching live right now. Ice hockey, I am being sucked into by Layla for the Hawks, the Blackhawks, more and more. So I think I'm gonna end up being a Blackhawks fan. The story is gonna go due to Layla, kind of a thing. But anyway, there's 21 people watching right now live. Make that 22, dang it. So there should be 22 thumbs up ideally, and more importantly, if 21 people over here, everybody went and grabbed one dude and said, "Hey, you want some positivity in your life?" and bring him over, we would have 20 new followers. Simple math. Today has been a great morning of maths, as they say on the other side. So there's
positivity goes only so far. There are some moments, some days of the week when we're live that it's not always so positive. but we try to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, even when it's miserable, honestly, like, my brother and I started our like Fenerbahce thing. It was more like therapy because we would talk. You got to sometimes after a bad game, you got to get it out of your system, talk about it a little bit, and then walk away. And then you kind of got it out of your system and said everything you wanted to say, kind of a deal. So, but still, there's like jokes and stuff like that. You laugh it off, and you realize it's not your entire life, and carry on to the next misery. Ryan says, "Go Sharks." Layla is at the game actually today, and as a birthday gift, her friend got her, like, what are those called? Like glass tickets, behind the glass, whatever you want to call it. Is that what it's called?
Front row.
I guess, yeah, front row, behind the glass, whatever. That's where they're going to be. So
Nice.
today
So
you might see
counting
them.
on it all day.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I should. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch the game now just to see if we see Layla ponding on the glass or anything like that. It will be interesting. I am an online hockey goat, but never an actual hockey guy. Really, I watched it.
You don't
way
want to
back
see him
in the
on
day
skates.
when Jasmine was a colic baby, pain in the butts. The first couple of months, I would come home and we would watch. At the time, it was Colorado Avalanche was having a good run, so I used to watch that, the good old days. But then I really don't watch a lot of hockey. What is up with the really long between periods? By the way, it takes freaking forever. So it's kind of it's a bit easier to watch though than, I don't know, like basketball or NFL or something like that. Watching like a full game, at least there's like more action. It feels like. Okay. But you know what, Ozan, just for you, next Monday, I'm bringing the trophies. They're over there. I gotta freaking find a way to reach them and open the skate door. But I'm gonna bring those 2 trophies and set them over here and show the plaques over here to prove my value. 16 minutes. Yes, that's way too long in between. Okay, Monday, your day off. What's the game plan here?
Haircut, and I have to get my tires changed because I picked up a flat tire the other day as well. So, yeah.
So you getting them all changed?
Yeah, because it's time anyway. I've got to switch them all out.
See, this is royalty, people. You have one little problem. I'm amazed you're not changing the car. Like, you know what? I got a flat tire. I'm just buying a new fucking car.
Fuck this piece of shit. I'm out. Next one.
You just like walk away from it, call an Uber, and just take me to the dealership. I'm buying a new one.
In cash.
Okay, everyone. I will be back tonight, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern from the Monday Night Podcast. Do join us then. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.